Hi and welcome. I'll be speaking English just for this part. Before we begin, I just want to say a few words about the organization 3PDK. This webinar is hosted by 3PDK, which is a non-profit organization based in Denmark. Our purpose is to spread the understanding of the three principles. This understanding is a spiritual understanding and spreading all over the world. The understanding of the three principles has helped people overcome stress, anxiety, addiction, depression, and help people find their way back to clarity, inner peace, calm, and mental health again and again. You can learn more about 3PDK on our website, 3p.dk, and in the Facebook group 3PDK, de Tre Principper Danmark. So today we welcome Derrick Mason, and the topic that you chose is following the feeling. So there you go.
Thank you for that, Trine. Thank you. And thank you all for coming to hear what I've got to say or hear me share. And it just reminded me of the topic that I picked, Trine. I totally forgot about the topic. And when you said it, and I remembered why I picked it. And it's the same reason why I can just speak from that space straight away, is because of the feeling, because of what that sort of speaks to me. And I can just speak from that space. So it's a perfect topic. Picked beforehand, but perfect for the moment. But yeah, I just want to say, speaking back to following the feeling, it's for me to just talk about that. I'll have to start from how my journey started into this understanding, and even to speak a little bit into what Trine said as well, or to roundabout bring it back round to what Trine said as well about this being a spiritual understanding. Because when I first come into contact with this understanding, one, I didn't believe it was anything to do with spiritual. And when I had my insight, I didn't think it attributed to anything to do with spiritual. But on this journey, what I've said is just following the feeling. More things have just been unveiled to me. And the more I'm stripping back and understanding just how fundamental and just how formless the principles are, and how I managed to be lucky enough to bump into it and sort of see it for what it was just in that moment. And that's what I'm going to sort of start my share with, how I first came into contact with this understanding. And some of you may or may not know, but I was in prison when I first got this understanding and didn't think my life had to change, didn't think that was the life I had to live because that was the cards I was dealt. And then got arrested in 2017, 2016. After the first time I was arrested was in 1988, which was a long time ago and revealing a bit my age. And yeah, I've just been in and out of prison since then, lived a life of crime, and thought that it was my circumstances and everything else around me that denoted how I had to show up. But I saw I went on a Beyond Recovery group that somebody was running based on this understanding, and I had an insight, and that insight sort of totally changed my life. And it was an insight based around my mum about how I sort of saw and blamed her for everything. And then I saw that it wasn't her to blame, it had all been me. And usually that feeling would have come with a feeling of guilt and a feeling of dejection, and it would have fed into everything what I told myself I knew about myself. But for some reason, it came with a feeling of liberation, came with a feeling of, well, if I'm the only one left in the room, then the choice is on me who I want to be in the next moment. And I saw it just in that moment there. I saw a thing called unlimited potential. And that unlimited potential for me was just not having to commit crime. And all the reasons that I told myself I had to commit crime, they all just fell away in one thought. And it just felt so freeing. And I didn't know intellectually, anytime I said, right, I'm not going to do that, I'll replace it with something else. I'm going to be a bricklayer, right? So I'm going to do a course on becoming a bricklayer, and I'll replace what I thought I had to do and build a future of what I can do. This time there wasn't nothing in their place. It was just, I don't have to do that. I don't know what I am going to do, but I know I just don't have to do that. And that just felt so freeing. And I started to look into all other areas where I'd been restricting myself. And prison for me is like the worst place on the planet that I could ever be. And I always told myself that when I'm there, life begins as soon as I leave there. And when I'm there, I just have to be in the shit mood and just be low and be depressed. But I realized that again, life lived in a moment. And when I sort of embraced that, I heard words coming out of my mouth like, I feel freer now than I've ever felt before in my life. And I'm in prison and I thought, wow, did I just say that? No, because that's what I feel. And if I feel like that, then that made me think back to times when I'd been outside. And I remember this one specific time when I was in Barbados and there was a beach party and we was all sitting on the beach, we was all partying. And I went and sat down on a bench and I just felt lonely. And I didn't understand. I see all my friends partying, looking like they was having fun. And I told myself I was strange. I said I was weird. I said I have to get up and I have to force myself to have fun because there's something wrong with me. But then I realized if I could be sitting in a cell in prison and feel as free as I ever felt before in my life, then what we call freedom is not determined by our circumstances. It's 100% determined by what we feel inside. And I saw that power, and I have this thing where I say I've always followed the feeling. Ever since I've come out, I've just followed the feeling, and I haven't sort of understood what that meant. And I'm just starting to understand the full fundamentals of like really following that feeling, because that's the feeling that enriches me. It's the feeling that makes me feel alive. And I know all the feelings that don't point me in that direction, I can't really avoid them, or I can't really come up with a solution on how to make them disappear. But I can just know not to follow them anymore, just not to follow them. And even when sometimes I'm not sure about the feeling because my intellect can't get a full grip on it, I still have to find that bit of courage and that bit of faith just to try and follow that feeling. And if I can say that I've done all of that with no planning. So when I left prison, if I would have said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be a talker, I'm going to come and talk to the Danish community, that would have been too much for my intellect to fathom. And I probably would have run 100 miles away in the opposite direction. But in me just following the feeling, things just gently, just slowly show up for me. And I just have that little bit of trust in that feeling that it showed up for me because I can do it. And it is something for me. All my life, I'd limited myself to what I thought I could do based on the intellectual, based on the outside circumstances. I learned to really follow that feeling from within. And I so many like telling this story about when I was little, how I wanted to be an engineer. And I remember saying that to somebody, and somebody told me, "Oh, you have to be good at maths to become an engineer." And because I told myself I'm no good at maths, I crumpled up the idea to become an engineer and just threw it in the bin and never revisited it again until I was older and I started to notice I was noticing the design in things and how I like the ergonomics of certain objects and I didn't understand that that's where that was coming from. And it was just about being more following that feeling then would probably have led me not to show up the way I showed up for so many years. But again, this is what leads into the spiritual aspect of it because even by me not following that feeling led me to lead a head-on encounter with that feeling. And it showed me that everything was a part of it, even the mistakes that I made. And that's what I've got to understand that the principles, the day I sort of understood, I thought, when I discovered the principles, I thought, yeah, I'll crack life. I'm always going to be happy. And I found the solution to everything. Because if I can be in prison and I can be happy, then yeah, I can be anywhere and be happy. But then I come out and life just crashes down, life just crashes down on you. And it's like, oh, maybe it doesn't actually go like that. But bit by bit, you just get a little sense of where that feeling is in all of that mess and all of that jungle. There's just little glimpse or little hints of that feeling, what I'd felt when I was in prison. And that is something that I'd never say. Prison has always been somewhere for me where if I go to prison, anybody I meet, I'd never want to see you again. The clothes that I wore in prison, I will throw them away because anything I've ever done in prison is just to be forgotten about. When I left prison the last time, there was a feeling that I had when I was in prison that I'd never experienced in my life. And it drew me back. And it led me back to reach out to the people who were running the group in prison, just so that I could understand, can I get a bit more of that feeling? Because I thought the feeling came from them. But then when I spoke to them, as soon as I spoke to them, a feeling just overcame every fiber of my being and just reminded me that it was coming from me. And it just set me on this journey where I could understand that the moment I understood that the principles weren't something to be learned, it weren't something to be intellectualized, it was something to be understood how we live. And it's something that's always been there. And when I just understand a bit more about how I operate as a human being, I can, one, give myself a break and not be so judgmental on myself. And when that layer falls away, then I'm not so judgmental on the people around me or the things around me. And where I've always been looking outside of myself for answers and solutions, I realize I've got all of the answers and solutions in myself. And that confidence that I didn't have to voice, I was looking outside with again. That confidence is something that's in me, something that I was born with. It's a formless thing that I just have to recognize. And the more I recognize it, the more I'm able to follow that feeling. And it always takes me to exactly where I need to be. And sometimes on this journey, it doesn't always look like intellectually where I should be. Sometimes it looks like I should be a bit further up the track. Or sometimes it looks like I should have more than what I've got. But it's all part of the journey. It's all part of following the feeling. And it's something that one of the big things I saw in myself was I saw that I wasn't really broken. And I didn't see that I wasn't broken in the moment. I saw that I never was broken. And everything that I had done through the lens of thinking I was broken was okay. Because as long as I don't think I'm broken, then I'm no longer broken. And I'm able to live out that formless, unlimited potential. Because my unlimited potential, like I said, it started out as me just not having to commit crime. But as I've come out and just followed the feeling, the unlimited potential has just expanded every single time and taken me to places where I wouldn't even have dreamt I'll be showing up. I've got any business showing up there. But again, just trusting in myself and trusting in that feeling that is for me. And it will take me to where I need to be. And I might have been through some circumstances and some situations what might not have been ideal. But if I hold on to them the way I was holding on to them, then I'll never be able to share the way I share and get an understanding of where I was. And this is one of the biggest things. Everything that I'd done, I thought it said something about who I was right now. And I had to bring that forward in order to honor it. But what I've realized is I don't have to do any of that. I just have to know that wherever I was back then is where I was. And I'm free to be wherever I want right now with whatever baggage I choose to hold on to. And if I choose to let go of all of it, I thought if I let go of that baggage, it lets go of something about myself. It lets go of who I am. But I know I can let go of that. And I'm still standing fresh and ready for what the moment's got to offer me. Because I realize each moment is brand new. So each moment takes brand new thought. I don't need no past thinking to deal with a moment in the moment. Because I've got everything I need in the moment. And just to follow that feeling just keeps me there. And I've said before, I think I might have said before, it's a feeling that I've never felt before. But it's a feeling that felt so familiar. It's a feeling that felt like home. It's a feeling that felt like where I need to be. And it's a feeling that I'd seen probably in my life show up in all different situations. But this is what this understanding tells you as well. That feeling is not restricted to any certain situation. That feeling can show up anywhere, in any moment. In our darkest times, we can tune in and understand that feeling. And a lot of the time, what I used to do is disfranchise myself from that feeling. So I tell myself that feeling's coming from somebody else. So I need to be more like that person, or I need to follow that person, or I need to listen more to that person. I'm just delegating what is rightfully mine, what is innately mine, to somebody else. And they can never do anything with that. All we can do is just honor our own and regulate and see ourselves and follow that own feeling. And I know when I follow that feeling, it speaks to other people. Other people can hear and feel that feeling as well. And that enables them to follow their version of that feeling. And that's when we get that connection, that time when we just get together with people and you just feel so connected. You don't really know what's going on, because we're all facing in that same direction of honoring that feeling. And knowing that when we honor that feeling, we 100% end up everywhere we need to be. And I think that's the true spiritual nature of this understanding. It's not something that we learn and then lose and then learn again. It's something that's in our fiber. When we make our mistakes, it's part of this same thing. It's weaved into the same fabric. And mistakes are intellectual of what I think I should have done from what I think I shouldn't have done. If we can take that off and know mistakes are just learning, when we're able to learn from them rather than judge ourselves for them, then we're able to put them down and move forward and learn what we're meant to learn from them. And learning doesn't mean it doesn't happen again, because there might be more learning to add in it. So we don't beat ourselves up. We learn how to understand and recognize that feeling that we're able to follow. And this understanding, I know when I first got this understanding and people spoke about the feeling, for some reason it didn't need no explanation. It didn't need somebody to tell you, when you get that feeling in your stomach and you get that little butterfly feeling and everything around you just looks rosy and you just love everybody and everything's just, nobody had to say that to me. They just had to say the feeling. And it hit me in my chest like, wow, how can something be so universal that I haven't really articulated what this feeling is that I'm talking about, that I've been following? But if we know it, if we've glimpsed it for ourselves, then we understand it because we've experienced it. And I've experienced it in situations where it's opened up all boundaries of my thinking, where I've been physically enchained, physically locked up, and it transcended that. Made me feel like that didn't even matter. My circumstances, my situation were irrelevant to what's going on inside. And like I said, if I know it can do that in those circumstances, I just have to hold firm and just know each circumstance I bump into that looks new, it's the same feeling inside that's going to set me free. It's that same feeling inside that I can learn to recognize. And the more I recognize it, the more it shows up, the more I can see it everywhere else, the more I can feel it in other people. When people tell me a story now, they don't look nothing like me, their experience is nothing like mine. But they say, oh, I understand that story, what you just said. It's like me doing this thing here. And instantaneously, I see the connection. Instantaneously. This feeling transcends all physical boundaries and just tunes us into that formless oneness that we can all encounter and inhabit. And I think when we do that, that's when I end up following and being exactly where I need to be with no plans on it. I don't know what I'm going to be doing next year. Things will show up for me and I just follow the feeling, but I just know I'll continue to follow that feeling. And without any intellect on it, only when I look back Does it look like it's got some coherency to it? Like it's got a little flow to it? But at the time, it just felt just being in the moment, following the feeling. Following that feeling is a deep, deep, deep thing that I've said from the day I had my insight. I've been saying I'm just following the feeling. I'm truly getting to understand that when you follow that feeling, it's just a formless flow that we can follow that points us in a direction. And we have the courage to just follow it. Even this understanding has flown in the face of all of my understandings of how I thought life worked. Like you have to shed what you know in order to grow. I thought the more you put on is the more that you grew. The more that I knew is the smarter and cleverer I was. But I've got to understand that the less that I know, every time I say I don't know, that opens up the opportunity for learning. Every time I say I know something, it closes it off because I think that I know. And this understanding has shown me since the day I got it, since the day I had my first insight, that it's always about seeing past what I think I knew. And that's where the power lies. When I see past what I think I knew, I know that there's more. I know that there's no such thing as seeing everything that we're ever going to see. We could always encompass that space. Because what I think I know now, there's something just that little bit past there. And if I'm just prepared to entertain that, then whatever that is will show up for me without me looking for it. And just knowing that the wonders of this understanding has just opened me up to that every moment from here on in. I can see something. And I know what keeps me on that path is following that feeling. It's a feeling of feeling and seeing who we really are, what we're really capable of. And when we see that, how that makes us feel. Not like we can take on the world, but we are the world. And I say this as well, when I got this understanding, I went into a group and I wanted to get better prison conditions. I wanted to get to a prison where they didn't lock you up and you could come out at the weekends and see your family. But when I went on that group, I found something much more better than that. I actually found myself. That thing looking outside of myself to make myself feel comfortable. That's what I've been doing all my life. But this group told me to look into myself and see what I could really see. And if I'll be honest, when I first had a look, it didn't look nice. But I just had that little courage to keep on looking. Just to keep on looking for something that I knew was there. Yeah, then I feel like I've been talking too long. Has anyone got any questions or do you want to open it up?
It's beautiful, Derrick. Very beautiful. And there is, Nomi just wrote in the chat. And if anyone else has questions and you don't want to speak English, just write it in the chat and I'll do my best to translate. So Nomi is asking, can you say a little bit more about courage? What is courage as you see it? Does that sound right, Nomi? Yes.
Yeah, well, for me, courage, when I speak about courage, I speak about it on the terms where all my life I'd been told certain things go a certain way. And I'd sort of gone with that direction because if you go against the mainstream or if you go against or if you go. But when I got this understanding, a lot of what I thought I had to do, I sort of realized that I didn't have to do. And it took a little bit of courage. It took a little bit of thing from inside me, something that I knew that I'd always had to look a bit deeper, like I said, and to stand up for myself and let my voice be heard. Because these are all the things that I told myself my voice wasn't worth listening to. I was insecure, I was broken, I built up this whole image of I was just this sort of victim. But then all my life I've been looking outsideward for people to acknowledge it and people to say, oh, poor you, and come let me give you a hand and oh, okay, acknowledge my pain, like pay honor the pain. But I had to find some sort of courage to know that I was never going to get that. And I have to drop all of that. There is going to be no happy send off and everybody's patting you on the back. And I have to have the courage to know that whatever answers I've been looking for outside of myself, I've got them all inside me. And it's like just knowing that I have everything I need. And it takes courage to sort of say that to yourself. And that's why I see courage.
And it just leads to the next. It's like then now when you meet people and speak with people, I mean, that's also courageous to meet them like that because so many people want to be met in pain and get nursing out of a space of pain. Can you say
Yeah.
something about that? How it is to speak with people like that?
Yeah, that is the next thing. When you see somebody, this I used to run these groups and people used to come there and they had all these barriers, like it was a community group, so they had all these barriers what they were facing, and people would come to the groups and expect us to have something that to give them that would cure all of their problems, and they would thingy, and they've seen people from the groups and they look like they're in a good mood. I want some of what they've got. But then when you tell people that the answers that you're looking for are all within yourself, and you don't have to give them the answers to any specific question. We don't talk about any specific topic. We just talk about the nature of where our feelings come from. And when we do get brave and start looking into ourselves instead of looking outward, then we start to see answers. And in a way, if you tell somebody that it's all their thinking and it's all up to them, they're not really going to be, they don't really want to hear that. But when you just gently let them know that just that little bit of courage, and they start to come in with stories about, oh, this happened to their gran, and they've had a bad relationship with her, but now they're starting to talk to her, and they've realized it's got nothing to do with her, and we can sort of drop all of these things what we've got for outside people, and because, and with the courage, if I've blamed, because for me personally, I blame my mum all my life for everything what had gone wrong. So now I had to take that courage and say, all of that blame is on me now. Now that could have crushed me. That could have flushed me up and said, right, so it is all my fault. But I was courageous enough to know, okay, I've taken it on, but that might not be true. It might not be true. It might be something to embolden me. It might be something that I can share from and people can hear a strength. Because a story what I can tell you as well, when I was in a group, there was a guy and he was sharing a story about how he'd been selling drugs for how many years and he'd been known to be driving big cars and everybody knew him as somebody that could look after himself. And he said when he came out, that wouldn't be him. He'd be coming at a bus stop and people would see him. And he said he didn't care. He didn't care. People looked at him and judged me. He didn't care. And I was in the same sort of position, but I wasn't at the stage to share. If I thought, if I said that, I would feel vulnerable. But when he said it, I heard that as a strength because it's something that I would like to find the strength to say. And then it kind of flipped my head and said, oh, how can I look at that as vulnerable coming out of his mouth? But yet, I think if it's coming out of my mouth, it's a vulnerability. I sort of saw that when you share your vulnerabilities, they can show up as strengths for other people. So if I can share my vulnerability, then it's not a vulnerability anymore. It now becomes a strength. So what other areas in my life have I seen myself as vulnerable that I can share? And more often than not, when you share a vulnerability, other people put their hand up and say, yeah, me too. Just like the Me Too motion. Yeah, me too. Oh yeah, that happened to me. And then it's from that space. But we have to find that courage from within ourselves to know what is right for us. And when we really know what's right for us, we know it's not really pointing the finger. It's really looking inside. When we look inside, there's no blame going that way. And this is what story I tell with my mum. Like when I got this understanding and I thought she was to blame for everything, I got this analogy where all the arrows for everything that had gone wrong were just pointing at my mum, but all of a sudden they all just turned around and just started pointing at me. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, it's all my fault. But I didn't feel guilty. I felt relief because if it's all my fault, then I mean that means I've got some sort of agency over what happens next. And for me, that intellectually, you couldn't have sold me that. You could not have sold me that intellectually. I would have said, no, not having it. But for some reason, the feeling told me that other story. And that feeling, when it told me that story, it was something that felt comforting. That, okay, it could be all my fault. And it was all me. And I did have options. And I did pick the wrong options. But that's okay. I don't have to pick the wrong option now. Right now, I've got all the options in front of me.
And how was your mom in that experience, if she's still alive?
No, do you know what? That's why, unfortunately, my mum passed away 2 weeks before, or I buried my mum 2 weeks before I was arrested for the sentence that I was arrested for. So she wasn't here anymore. And that's another thing, like she passed away of cancer, and I nursed her throughout the last 2 months of her life. Every day I spent with her, and we had a bad relationship. But for that 2 months, it was just so bliss and so peaceful and just so all everything was just left at the door, and it was just and I thought it was the most beautiful experience I'd ever experienced with my mum. But then I got this understanding, and it made that experience even more beautiful. It made it even more because, like I said, there's this thing where my mum was a strict mum where she used to beat me or discipline me all the time. And I built up this idea that she hated me for whatever reason, and it was all hate. And only when I got this understanding did I realize that she was doing the best that she could with the thinking that she had. And it was all coming from love. So now I can think back to times when she might have been disciplining me, and all I can feel is love. As I'm talking about, I can just feel love coursing through my body. What she was trying to that was her version of it, and that's all I feel now. I don't feel no hate. I don't feel anything but love. And the 2 months I was with her, I didn't even get to tell her any of this. But the beautiful thing about this understanding is I don't need to, because as I'm talking about her, she's here with me, right? She's just, it's just, yeah. So that all of those things, like, it's just beautiful to talk about and articulate because there's no way I can prove it, but I can follow the feeling that's in me, and I know what I'm talking about, and I know my mum is guiding me, and she's part of this journey what I'm on right now, and yeah, it's just a beautiful. This understand just the most beautiful thing in all different areas that you can look at. It's the answers that we don't really go looking for. Because when I got this understanding, I didn't say, right, I want to improve the relationship with my mum who'd recently passed away. I want to become a better father. I want to stop judging people. I want to feel at one with the whole world, no matter what they look like. I want to not feel like there's any issues from the past that I have to really get into. It all just fell away. And when it falls away, it just feels beautiful. That same beautiful that I thought I had to look for in order to break somebody else's castle down and put my one there, that feeling that I would have. No, no. When you fall into that space of oneness, that is the real beauty of life. That is the real beauty that fuels us all. And from that thing that I said about my mum, I got this thing where that showed me that love is held in trust. So if I'm showing you love now and you don't see it and you don't see it, you're seeing it as something else, I'll keep on giving it to you because I know in 15, 20 years' time, 30 years' time, something will open up and you'll be able to receive that love that I was sending out today, right now. You'll be able to feel it just as raw and just as pure as the day that I was giving it out to you. And I know that that's a fact. That is a spiritual fact that I have experienced. And I know that that cannot be written down, it cannot be taught, it can only be experienced. And I felt that, and I try my best to just articulate it. But then even like, yeah, it's just a beautiful thing. It's just a beautiful thing. Just a beautiful thing. Thank you for that question. That really, oh man, yeah. But then even what I said about the courage, when you do that once, and you know that it's okay, then you find the courage to take on other things, and then just you peel away who you thought you had to be, and you're just standing with this and that courage that comes from within you, that confidence that comes from within you, not something from outside of us. All these all innate things that we were born with. We've sort of been learned how to stream away from them because the intellect knows better. When we tune into the feeling, it informs us of everything we need. And the intellect just plays a sideshow.
Beautiful.
Thank you for the question, by the way.
Does anyone else have any questions? Jeg oversætter gerne, hvis I har nogle spørgsmål. Be happy to translate. One of the things, Derrick, that while you were speaking, I mean, this is so beautiful. And it just really, and I've felt this before, but it's such an appreciation of my own journey. Like there are things in my life, like I think there probably is in everyone's life, that we sort of wish we hadn't done, or situations we've been in that were less than kind. And I can recognize that for myself, and I recognize the feeling you're talking about, like in hindsight, I can sort of trace back and how I followed this feeling, and I wouldn't be without my experiences, like an appreciation for where I've been, an appreciation for what I've been, the experiences I've had, that weren't always kind, and so and I love who I am today. So, and I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for everything, that whole tracing it back. So, yeah, I've thought about that often.
I love that. And you know what? I use that as well. I saw that. And just how you said it, we can look back and we can say, oh, what I went through before, or that made me, oh, yeah. And then in a way, it's like, oh, I'm not glad that I went through it, but oh, yeah, I went through that and that's what armed me for where I am now. So then I said, okay. So then when I'm in that sticky situation tomorrow and I'm cursing and I'm kicking and I'm screaming, maybe I can take some solace in the fact that maybe this is arming me for something in the future. Maybe I'm going through this so that I can say, oh, this is going to be one of them examples that I can talk about. And when I just open up that possibility, it just makes that situation just a little bit less than what it was before. Because it's not set in it's not definitely going to be in the one direction. Like the time when I said I got arrested, just like 2 weeks after I buried my mum, I got arrested. That was the worst point of my life ever. That was the worst thing. I was 40 something years old, caught with a load of drugs, about to go to prison, just had my third child born. He was about 8 months old. I knew I was going to go away for a little while. That was the worst thing that could ever happen to me. I could stop the world at that moment and say that's the worst thing that ever happened to me. But that is what made me be in front of you right now here today. So that is what made me appreciate all of that love what I spoke about from my mum. That is what made me look into the mother of my children, who I'd had an 18 years awful relationship with. Made me look into the nature of that and see who I really had tried to be as compared to who I should have been or who I can be. It made me look into all of these areas, all of them. And it's just to know that that is something that if I had to go through that and I saw all of that and I can just be a slightly better person than that person that I was then I'm happy. I'm happy. And that tells me that the road forward doesn't have to be a beautiful, shiny, paved with gold. And it just shows me that the rubble and the barriers that I encounter, there is a way to there is a way to go through them a bit more seamlessly than the way I'd previously thought. And each barrier looks brand new. No barrier looks like the same, which is why I think I either have to use the old thinking to break it down, but I use new thinking in the moment from everything what I've experienced. This tells me I can always be in the right place. So the things what we label as that are good for us and that are bad for us, yeah, we can do well because we like to label it in the moment. But the next day when it means something else, then the next day it means something else, and the next day we just get confused. So we just say it was what it was. It was what it was. Let me see what can be in the next moment. Rather than lock it down to it only means one thing. I love that. That just sets it's something for it sets us up for being in any circumstances. Because that's what I know. This understanding didn't guarantee me a bright, beautiful future. It didn't guarantee me all of those things that were just gonna disappear. No, it just offered me the opportunity to see something new in them. And again, when I take courage and go against all of my 52 years of thinking, what told me to take the left. And I've always taken the left. And the take the right has always been a flashing red, don't turn right, don't turn right. And that feeling tells me, you know what, turn right. I turn right. And it always leads me to somewhere more beautiful than I can ever think of. And I realized the only thing that was informing that flashing red light was my intellect of previous things what I thought looked the same or what I thought other people would have done. One of the biggest things I've realized with this understanding is what I thought other people would think. And then when I face up to it, it's nothing like compared what they was thinking. It's the total opposite. And that's why when we hold ourselves up to that true feeling of who we are, we're surprised by the response that we get. And then I can take that to I was in prison, and prison's a place you don't talk about love. You don't talk about unless it's for your girlfriend or your mum or your children. You don't talk about love. You don't. It's not the thing on the menu. But this group was just so much about love and so much about, and we couldn't help it. So we'll come out onto the wing and we'll start talking about love, just all up in the heady moment. Before you know it, there's 15, 20 lads around us, all get interested and want to know what's going on. And can I join that group? And it's like, wow, did we just really have that conversation? And they'll come up to you afterwards and say, I want to put my name down, please. That thing you're talking about, love, it's, and then talking like they really know what they, because most people, they spend all their lives hiding from that thing. Love to me was a dirty word. And it was something that I had to hold on to tightly because I'd only been given a little bit of it. So I gave it to you. You had to make sure you were careful with it. And as soon as I see you not being careful with it, I'll take it away from you because I'm not having you waste my love. And when I realize there's nothing like that, we're made of it, I can give it away, I can throw, and you can trample on it, you can not listen to it, you can not think, I know it's not going anywhere. It's like the energy, and the same thing like the science and the quantum physics, like thermodynamics. Energy cannot be lost, and energy cannot be made, and it cannot be destroyed. The same thing with love, which is even before that. It cannot be destroyed. It cannot be made. It permeates absolutely everything. When we tune into it, as our little direct way to tune into it is through our feelings. When we feel that thing, like we're walking down the road and I just feel good for some reason. I don't know what's going on. I just feel amazing. I don't need to send out the hit squad to find out where that feeling's coming from and investigate it and find out. I just need to be in it because that thing's coming from somewhere deeper than me. I just appreciate it. Because as soon as I send out the investigators, that's it. It's gone. Because I want to try and replicate it and know that feeling. It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. And it's just to know that we've got that connection with that.
Awesome. There's some people have written in the chat, so I'm going to read it to you.
Hmm.
Like it says, so beautiful about your mother's love. Thank you. And Laura is writing beautiful story. I know the feeling of being in a mental prison. Love your message about trusting ourselves and not giving our power away. And Rege says, can you say more about giving away your power?
Mm. Yeah, I love that because that's something that I would do all the time, and it comes in all different shapes and sizes. How something will happen, or I'll assume something, and I'll assume it's coming from somewhere else. Like I delegate all of what is for me to other people, and before I had this understanding, I knew where my fun was, so I knew where it was. It was lay in certain places, but it never lay in there. It always lay within me. And the moment I give it away and tell somebody else, or I was somebody that in another aspect of it, I didn't have that much confidence or that much security. I used to look outwardly for for validation. So I would have a girlfriend, and if my friend said, "Oh, I don't think she's that nice," I will get rid of her. It had enough. My opinion played side fiddle to what the outside world wanted, and that power that I have to make a decision and follow my free will and follow that feeling, I'd basically given it out to anybody and anybody. If I didn't know you and we were sitting somewhere and you said, "What do you want to eat?" And you said, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna have the fish," I'll probably say, "Yeah, I'll have the fish as well then," because you look like you know what you're talking about. So I've delegated my power of what do I really want? What am I going to honor myself with? I've just thrown that away, and you're more important. The outside world's opinion was more important than anything what I thought, because I thought that's what made sense. I thought that separate reality that we live in, I thought there was one reality and we all had to play the same game and input the same thing. And if I wasn't inputting what everybody else expected, then I'll be lacking. So my job or my game was to understand what you wanted. And if I understand what you want, then I'll play you like a fiddle. But I didn't know I'll just play myself like a fiddle because I'm just giving. And I'm not even giving you what you want because I don't even know what the hell you want. I don't even know what I want. I'm inside my own head and I don't even know what I want. How the hell am I going to know what you want? But I play it up like I think I know what you want, which is going out to waste. Because what you want is probably something else. You want me to be more like me. And I'm giving that away willingly. But when I take that back and say, no, this is mine, and I'm going to follow and honor what feels right for me, what feels good to me. And I got this little analogy where when I was little, I used to like watching like little not ballet shows, but little them two when they're in the tutus and they're doing little performances. But I couldn't tell people that, so I just stopped watching it and didn't get interested in it because that wasn't for me. But if I would have honored who I was, I would have taken back my own little power and just done what I wanted to do because it furnishes me. And the more I would have understood that, the more I would have been able to stop giving it out or delegating it as much. And like I said, when I saw this, I saw how much I had given it out. And I reclaimed all of those feelings and all of it to say, yeah, I do that. It's all encompassed in the feeling. Everything I was looking for outside of that, I get from that feeling, that validation. That it's not even a validation, it's just a knowing that you're okay, you're perfect, you're fine just the way you are. And no matter what's happened or what's gonna happen, that will not change. Will not change. So I can't delegate my power out like that again. Does that make sense?
I think so. I'm pretty sure. Yes, thank you so much, she says. I was just waiting for a response. Nomi has her hand raised. We have about 10 minutes left, so Nomi.
Yes. I guess I just want to say thank you because I find your way of putting not only your words, but exactly what you're talking about, the feeling in such a central place that when we go into this understanding, it's so easy to get caught up to understand the understanding. But you're very good at putting it right where I think it really needs to be. And you said something about giving love, or and and at the same time, I hear you say that love cannot be given because it's everywhere. It's in you. It's in me. It's here. So it just made me see even more clear that we are free, not only in ourselves, but in the relationships, because it's over there in you. So if I trust in that, it's easy. There's no strings attached. Yeah, so just grateful. Thank you from here.
Oh, thank you for that. And again, you've opened up something that I see recently. And when I see that thing about love, it's like the power that I was talking about giving away. Because I don't know what anyone else is thinking, it's impossible for me to actually give my power to somebody else. I just delegate it out there away from myself and I don't use it. But when you're talking about that love, what I see about love now is it is everywhere out there. And when I give my love out there, you cannot take my love. My love can recognize your love, and then you use your love to recognize my love, and that's what we feel. You can never ever take a drop of my love because it doesn't work like that. But you use yours to interact with mine, and then we feel it. And if we part ways, then I just part mine and you go with yours. You have every little drop plus more than when you started with. It's just a beautiful exchange of the energy of like when we really tune into what part of the energy we want to feel and resonate with. That love part just connects us all. So beautiful, man. Oh, thank you, man. So beautiful, man.
That must be connectedness. That's what we all long for, right? And we are right here.
And that's when you know you don't have to go searching for it. Right? You don't have to jump on a plane or a boat or a spaceship. It's right here, right here. It's more about sinking into it than going to look for it.
There's another comment in the chat from Troels. So the amount of energy in the universe is constant, and energy equals love. So the amount of love in the universe is constant, and therefore you cannot lose or destroy love. Math is easy. And Rege is saying, not giving away power is beautiful.
Yeah, no, that is so beautiful. That is, and this is why I understand how this thing's spiritual because I haven't what I'm speaking about. You lot are just reflecting back everything I was trying to sort of articulate with, and it's just coming back to me in exactly the same way. And it's just a beautiful thing. It's just a beautiful thing. Just to know that we're tuned into that and we're a part of this fabric that's just filled with love, that's filled with potential, just filled with we can. And there's nothing that can't be achieved. Not one single thing, but we just take what's on our table at the time. Like I said, with this understanding, there wasn't a hit. I didn't get this understanding and say, right, these are my top 10 priorities. This is what I want to tackle. I've just had this understanding and those things have just fallen away. Like the top 10 things that I needed to fall away have just fallen away because they needed to fall away. Not because I said, oh, that's important. And it's been able to fall away in time for me to show up at places like this and then be at places like this and then have things fall away in lifetime when people say things to me. It's just beautiful. It's just the most beautiful. And it's not about knowing. Again, all the intellectual things what I thought I knew, the more books I read, the more I knew. Now, the more quiet I get, the more I seem to know. Yeah, the more of these talks I do, the more I seem to know. Like, how can that be? It's just crazy. It's just crazy. And the more you sort of admit that you don't really know, is the more that you know. Like, what the hell did you just say? The more that you act like you don't know, is the more that you know. What? Yeah, like I said, we can send out the things to say why and what not, and that's wasted energy. Just appreciate the glorious, magnificence that we are and what we can really tune into. And it's always past what what we thought we could be, past our wildest dreams if we're prepared to go there. Because even our wildest dreams are just made up of the same energy. Man, you see all this stuff what I'm saying now. I just want you lot to know it's not prearranged and something this is all just got, I don't know what but I just know it leaves a good feeling in me. So I know what I'm saying is hitting me. And it's just beautiful just to be in a space like this. It's just amazing. Again, just a little past what I thought I knew. I just gotta say, before you lot all thank me, I just want to thank all of you. Yeah, no, because you're all part of it. It's all part of the same. It's just beautiful. Thank you, Trine, for inviting me, man. It's just been amazing. It's been beautiful. Whatever you guys are feeling, I'm feeling it tenfold. So,
Well, thank you, Derek. And this has been such a gift to us to have you here. And I so appreciate you following the feeling, following your feeling, and showing up here tonight. And this is epic. This is amazing. Thank you.
again, thank all of you lot. That was amazing. That was so beautiful. Thank you.